are going to start this session of Gobeshona 2 Global Conference being organized by ICAD. And as all know, that is a kind of a phenomenal conference, and we are very happy to be part of it from Environment Government Integrated Organization India. So this particular session, titled Struggle of Coastal People to Fight Against Climate Change Effect, being jointly organized by LEDARS Bangladesh and ENGIO India. And as because we have started a bit late, I don't want to kind of take much time away. All of us know that Sundarban, spread across 20,000 square kilometers in India and Bangladesh, is one of the climatic hotbed in the world, with significant amount of sea level rise, cyclones, all sort of immediate and long-term impacts are there. So what kind of adaptations or other issues are closely linked with Sundarban, especially how these issues can be taken forward to COP27? I had the chance to speak to Professor Salimun Haq, who is the main brainstorm behind this whole organization, and he's saying that my aim is to take it forward to COP27. So I request all the speakers to keep that in mind, whatever they will be speaking about, how that could be linked to COP27. And without further ado, I would like to request Mr. Mohan Kumar Mondol. Mr. Mondol is the director and the main key person of LEDARS Bangladesh to make his presentation. I think he is supposed to show a video to start with and then a small presentation. As because we have started late, I request him to kind of, if it's possible, to keep it within 15 minutes. Mohan, the floor is yours.
Dear distinguished moderator, distinguished presenter, host from the ICAD representative, and dear audience, I would like to greatly thank you to attend to give me the chance to speak here and attend this session. My name is Mohan Kumar Mondol. I will share on a small presentation and a video for from my side. So I am just starting my video. If it is not audible, please let me know.
It's fine.
Once upon a time, Bangladesh was an unparalleled terrain of natural beauty. But the negative impact of global climate change in the last few decades has turned the country into one of the most vulnerable areas. The people of the coastal areas are living with high risk. Shyamnagar Upazila of Satkhira and Koira Upazila of Khulna district are situated in the southwestern coastal area. Near about 800,000 people live in these two upazilas that are closely adjacent to the Sundarbans. Most of them are fishermen, farmers, and resource collectors of Sundarbans. During the last few decades, their life has become miserable due to intrusion of saline water and frequent natural disaster. Severe crisis of pure drinking water is created due to increase of salinization of freshwater pond and groundwater. Farmers are being forced to depend on rain-fed cultivation due to increase of salinity in soil and water. But the production is decreased due to irregular rainfall, which has been created a severe food crisis. Poor people, especially women of river-bounded island and coastal remote area, are deprived of getting health services due to fragile communication system. In the adverse situation, many unplanned commercial shrimp cultivations have been developed, which is resulting in increase of salinity. Besides, people who are involved in agricultural work became dependent on Sundarbans due to unemployment. As a result, many people are being killed by the tiger attack and the number of tiger widow increasing. People have to go to cities or abroad for searching livelihoods, though they are not responsible for climate change. Woman-headed families are gradually increasing due to the migration of male people from this area.
প্রতি বছর এইরকম হচ্ছে দুর্যোগ যখন সিগন্যাল দেয় 10 নম্বর 8 নম্বর তখন এখান থেকে আমাদের কিছু জায়গায় যেতে হয় জিনিসপত্র নিয়ে যেতে পারে না, এখানে দিয়ে যেতে হয় এইরকম।
লবণাক্ত পানি, চোখ মুখ জ্বলে, গায়ে আর চৈত ফাল্গুন মাস হলে গায়ে ফুটে উঠবে সব।
In this situation, LEDARS is implementing the project titled Strengthening Livelihood Security of Climate Change Vulnerable People, supported by Bread for the World in Shyamnagar of Satkira district and Koira Upazila of Khulna district, with a view to increase people's adaptation capacity to cope with the adverse effect of climate change, enhance adaptive crop cultivation, reduce climate migration, creating access to pure drinking water, economic empowerment of women, ensure health services in the remote island area, and formulates sustainable adaptive development plan of local government.
আমরা যে সকল জায়গায় কাজ করি এটা দুর্যোগ প্রবণ এলাকা এবং আইলার সময় এই এলাকা ব্যাপক ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হয়েছিল, যেখানে যোগাযোগ ব্যবস্থা এখনো পূর্ণাঙ্গভাবে পুনরুদ্ধার করা যায়নি। লিডার্স এই এলাকার একটি স্থানীয় প্রতিষ্ঠান। এই এলাকার যাবতীয় সমস্যাগুলো জাতীয় এবং আন্তর্জাতিকভাবে তুলে ধরাই আমাদের কাজ। সাথে সাথে এই এলাকা পরীক্ষামূলক কিছু কাজ করে দেখা, যাতে সরকারকে বলা যায় যে এইরকম কিছু কাজ করলে এই এলাকা মানুষের দুঃখ দুর্দশা বা জলবায়ু ঝুঁকি কমানো সম্ভব।
Only organizational initiative can ensure sustainable development to combat with climate change risks. LEDARS has been implementing its programs to fight with climatic disaster through formation of 45 social organizations from different strata of grassroots of the society.
আমাদের গ্রামের নাম পূর্ব জেলেখালী ক্লাইমেট রেজিলিয়েন্ট ভিলেজ। আমাদের এই গ্রামের মানুষের সমন্বয় করে নিয়ে আমরা ক্লাইমেট রেজিলিয়েন্ট একটা কমিটি গঠন করেছি। সবাইকে নিয়ে আমরা একটা আপদ মানচিত্র তৈরি করেছি। আমাদের যে সমস্ত প্রাকৃতিক বিপর্যয়গুলো আসতেছে জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনের কারণে, সেই সমস্ত ঝুঁকি অনুযায়ী মানুষকে সেই বিষয়ের উপরে পরামর্শ এবং ধারণা দিয়ে সেইভাবে আমরা প্রস্তুতি নিয়ে নিছি।
Local population has not enough knowledge and awareness to cope with the natural adverse situation. So, initiative has been taken to increase awareness of the local people.
আমার মতন তো আরো অনেক মহিলা এরকম দুঃখ আছে। তারপরে যখন আমরা একতা হয়েছি, কিন্তু আস্তে আস্তে আমাকে অভয় অনেক কিছু কমেছে।
Cultivation of rice and vegetables are not being possible like before due to increase of salinity. To introduce a resilient agriculture practice, LEDARS provided training to beneficiaries and a total of 32,155 kg salt and drought-tolerant rice seed innovated by Bree and Bina has been distributed among beneficiaries.
আমাদের এখানে তো আগে একটা ফসল হতো মোটে। লিডার্সের সহযোগিতার কারণে আমরা দুটো ফসল ফলাতে পারছি। আমাদের আগের চেয়ে আরো উন্নতি হচ্ছে, আমরা সুস্থভাবে দিন কাটাতে পারতেছি।
To produce vegetables round the year, 13,743 kg salt-tolerant vegetable seeds of different varieties have been provided. In case of vegetables production, LEDARS promoted environment-friendly organic fertilizer and 580 pits have been developed. LEDARS established 40 seed houses to solve the seed crisis in agriculture. Alongside, LEDARS has already distributed 13,440 salt-tolerant fruit plants to ensure food and nutrition security. 5 deep tube wells have been installed. 68 small ponds and 2 canals were excavated to turn one cropped area into multi-cropped by solving irrigation problems in drought season, through which near about 90 acres of land already been turned into true cropped land.
নলকূপ স্থাপন করার পরের থেকে আমাদের এখানে দু ফসল হচ্ছে। আগামী সনে আশা করি আগামী সনের থেকে দু ফসল আরো ভালো হবে।
Alongside training, financial support has been providing for various income generation activities according to the needs of women. As a result, the woman-headed families along with tiger widows see the dream of living in these disaster-affected areas.
লিডার্সের থেকে কাঁকড়া প্রশিক্ষণ পাইলাম, এখন এই কাঁকড়া চাষ করতেছি, এতে আমার খুব লাভ হবে।
Drinking water crisis is long-term problem in the southwest areas due to salinity of groundwater and damage of pond by frequent disasters. Especially women are suffering from this problem as they have the responsibility of collecting drinking water for the family. To ensure the supply of pure drinking water, 11 ponds have been excavated, 11 new pond sand filters (PSF) have been installed 24 inactive PSF have been renovated and 4,200 biosand filters have been installed.
আগে পুকুরের জল পান করে আমাদের সবার ডায়রিয়া হতো, এখন এই পিএসএফ ফিল্টার পানি পান করে আমরা সুস্থ মতন জীবন কাটাচ্ছি। এখানে 172 পরিবার আছে, সবাই এই পানি খায়।
Moreover, 179 rainwater harvesting systems installed among women-headed families. LEDARS distributed health cards to the beneficiaries of the project to ensure health service and reduce malnutrition. Under the project, LEDARS has provided health services and increased health awareness among 3,566 families through 15 medical camps using river ambulance.
স্বাস্থ্য কেন্দ্রে তো হওয়াতে আমাদের অনেক উপকার হয়েছে। এখানে ঔষধ দেয় ভালো, এই কার্ডটা দেখালে 100 টাকার ঔষধ 20 টাকায় দেয়, এখানে ডাক্তারও ভালো।
Union Parishad is the grassroots organization of the local government who takes various development plans in every year. But most of the development activities are not sustaining because the plans are not taken by considering climate change and disaster risks. To ensure sustainable development, LEDARS has initiated pilot programs with 2 unions to formulate and implement local adaptation plan and action, LAPA.
জলবায়ু সহনশীল একটা ইউনিয়ন গঠন করবার স্বার্থে প্রত্যেক মানুষের অংশগ্রহণে আমরা অট পরিকল্পনা সভা করলাম। সেখান থেকে একটা পরিকল্পনা নেওয়ার পর আমরা একটা পুস্তিকা ঠিক এরকম একটা জায়গাতে চলে আসলাম। যে ওয়ার্ডে যাই না কেন আমাদের কিন্তু একটা মানচিত্র সহ আমাদের ওই ওয়ার্ডের সমস্যাটা কিন্তু আমরা এখানে তুলে নিয়ে সোশ্যাল সেফটি নেট যে প্রোগ্রাম সরকারের আছে বা বিভিন্নভাবে আমাদের যে বরাদ্দগুলো থাকে সেই বরাদ্দের মধ্যে থেকে মোটামুটি ভাবে আমরা সলভ করার চেষ্টা করতে পারবো।
In addition, LEDARS has been working to enhance capacity building of the media personnel to focus the risks and crises of the coastal people in the national and international level. Despite having huge limitations in cooperation with local people, government and donor organizations, LEDARS has been implementing some programs to enhance adaptation capacity of the peoples of Shamnagar and Koira Upazila.
এখানে লিডার্স যে কাজগুলো করে সেগুলো প্রশংসিত। তারা নিরাপদ পানি প্রাপ্তির ব্যাপারে একটা মুখ্য ভূমিকা রাখে। যেহেতু লবণাক্ততা মাটির নিচে দিয়েও বেরিয়ে গিয়েছে, আবার উপর দিয়ে লবণাক্ত বেরিয়ে গেছে, সেক্ষেত্রে জমির মাঝখানে পুকুর খনন করে সেই পুকুর পানি দিয়ে অল্প পরিসরে কিছু চাষবাস করা। লিডার্স এই কার্যক্রমটা যাতে আরো এনহ্যান্স করা যায় এ ব্যাপারে আমার একটা সুপারিশ। তারা ইউনিয়ন পরিষদের তৃণমূল পর্যায়ে জনপ্রতিনিধিদের অ্যাডাপ্টেশন ক্ষমতা বৃদ্ধির ব্যাপারে যে কাজগুলো করে সেগুলো প্রশংসিত।
Are perhaps amongst the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. At the same time, there is much effort being made both by the government and non-governmental organizations to try to tackle the impacts of climate change, particularly salinity in that area. These efforts are going on all over the district and all over the coastal parts of Bangladesh, and the idea is to transform Shatkhira district from being the most vulnerable district to becoming the most resilient district within the next decade or so.
আমার মনে হয় যে জাতীয় পর্যায়ে নীতি নির্ধারকদের দৃষ্টি আকর্ষণ করা দরকার বাংলাদেশের এই ঝুঁকিপূর্ণ এলাকাটাকে আরো বেশি সমৃদ্ধ করার জন্য। আর এখানকার কাজ করতে গিয়ে তৃণমূল পর্যায়ে একটি বড় সমস্যা হলো মাইগ্রেশন। যে সকল পরিবারকে আমরা সহায়তা দিচ্ছি 1 মাস পরে গিয়ে আমরা দেখছি সেই পরিবার আর নাই। আর একটি বড় চ্যালেঞ্জ হলো এই এলাকার পানি ব্যবস্থাপনা পুনরুদ্ধার করা। এই এলাকার যাবতীয় খাল এগুলো ইজারা দেওয়া হয়ে গেছে এবং তারা সেগুলো দখল করে চিংড়ি চাষ বা অন্যভাবে ব্যবহার করছে। এইগুলোকে যদি পুনরুদ্ধার করা যেত এবং এগুলো যদি খনন করে দেওয়া যেত তাহলে ব্যাপক মানুষ দ্বিতীয় ফসল করে
Hello, dear audience. Is the video is on or it is stopped?
The video is stopped.
Stop now.
The video seems to be stopped now.
So, do you need this is for the
I think the video has made the
problem.
point. I think it's a wonderful video. I think the main points have been made. So if you would like to add something on that, Mr. Mondol, I think it would be great if you can add on to that whatever you'd like to add.
Okay, just I'm very sorry that the video has suddenly stopped, but I would like to give the rest of the, I would like to raise the rest of the point through my PowerPoint presentation, if you allow me.
Please go ahead.
Do you, are you watching my presentation?
Yes, yes, yes. Your presentation can be seen. Everybody
Yes,
can hear. Everybody, just for a second. Everybody can hear and see. I'm told that Anshuman Das was saying that he couldn't hear. Now, can you hear, Anshuman? All can hear, Mr. Mandal, and see.
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me. Others, Mahmuda, can you hear me? Or Mohan?
Yeah, you are clear and
then,
loud.
Then Anshuman, there may be some problem at your end. So please check. Please go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Mandal.
Thank you, dear moderator. I'd like to thanks again to all of our panelists and the audience for the passion to here to attend the session. Though the video suddenly stopped, I am very much sorry for the interruption of the internet connection. So my presentation, you know that our session title was the struggle of coastal people to fight against climate change effect, and my presentation topic is strengthening the resilient initiative through locally led adaptation action. It is a basically case in the Bangladesh Sundarban area. All of you know that the Sundarban area of Bangladesh is very much vulnerable due to the climate change situation, like the frequent cyclone, drought, irregular rainfall, salinity intrusion, riverbank erosion is a main problem. What make the people lives very much threatened. And especially the marginal farmer, fishermen, tiger widows, and day laborer are struggling to survive. And due to the climate change, declination of the income, agricultural production, scarcity of drinking water, and other hardship. And for the other hardship, people are migrating from this area for their better livelihood. The slide is changing.
Yeah, it has changed.
Okay. What is the breakthrough? What people ask to us, and how we get engaged with the initiative? Most of you know that in 2009 there have a big catastrophe named Cyclone Aila. Most of our coastal land, especially Koira and Shamnagar, inundated by saline water for that Aila for 2.5 years. After reconstruction, the embankment, people of the Shamnagar and coastal Shamnagar and Koira area, they determined not to cultivate the saline water shrimp farm, but they did not have enough technology with their hand for their livelihood protection. And they seek our support so that so that they can turn into a resilient life. And they organized themselves, identified their vulnerabilities, adopt a community development plan, and they agreed. They promised to us that they will provide financial and in-kind support if we give them the support to implement their action plan. In that time, 2013, LEDARS started its community initiative, and we are very much grateful to Break for the World, IUCN, Mangrove for the Future, Horizon, and Christian Aid to support their initiative. What they have done, they have organized in different people's organization like Climate Resilient Group, Self-Help Group, Farmers Cooperative, and they also make the vertical linkage among the people's organization like the Climate Resilient Forum, Climate Advocacy Forum in different name. And they have gathered climate change knowledge through climate field school session, cultural program, agriculture, fair distribution of IEC materials, etc. There have some picture I am showing you that how they make their plan and how they help our initiative. And most of the farmers who engaged with our initiative, they showed their interest so that they can cultivate a resilient agriculture. And they salt and stress tolerant rice and vegetables they are cultivating with the partially support of leaders, rice and vegetable seed store development, and they also disseminate the seed among the community.
Mr. Mandal, if you can conclude quickly now.
Sorry?
If you can conclude, if you can go to the main slides, main findings and main observation, and can conclude quickly, because we have been running out of time.
I'd like to conclude my presentation within 2 or 3 minutes. And
sure.
basically, people are organizing and mobilize themselves, and they are practicing the adaptive resilient model in the coastal area. Different type of model they have installed, and they also contribute a lot of money for mini pond excavation, canal excavation, deep well installation, so that they can cultivate 2 crop on cropped area in saline area. And also they are now practicing the ecological agriculture. Liability is another main problem. The tiger victim widows and the other woman-headed families, they gather the skill knowledge on income generating activities, and they are developing their enterprise, different type of enterprise, grocery shop, a small business, crab fattening, poultry, and livestock rearing, that type. And a small cottage, they develop on a small cottage, and leaders is supporting them to marketing channel development of their production. And one of our main objectives to provide them the resilient wash and health service, and people established a 40 rainwater harvesting system, 40 ponds and filter, 179 rainwater harvesting system, managed aquifer research by sun filter 5,100 families. And they are now managing 2 reverse osmosis technology in their community. And they are regularly obtaining health services from the NGO services and from the government also. And main part of our initiative is the lobby and advocacy. Lot of people, they already engaged with the grassroots movement, and till now they organized 53 human chain, 4 press conference in national and district level, 3 dialogue, and lot of letter they have issued to the Honorable Prime Minister and different ministries. And as they are so much motivated for their resilient livelihood, resilient practice, that's why leaders is supporting them to manage a knowledge management center, and we are building the building capacity of the local union parishad, so that union parishad can develop local adaptation plan. And we are making a knowledge hub in the coastal area, in the Sundarban area, and we are establishing laboratory and research facilities with support of Khulna University, and we are developing some easy reading materials disseminated in the community. Until now, we get to one international and one national award. And just our recommendation from the community people, recommendation 1 is ensure locally led adaptation and utilization of local knowledge and resources, ensure integrated and coordinated approach for climate resilient initiative, both GO and NGO, compensation to the most vulnerable families who are losing assets every year, and global leaders have to consider the ground situation of vulnerable countries and take necessary initiative to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. This is for my short presentation. I'd like to take pardon for my little bit longer presentation. Thank you, dear moderator, for giving me the chance to show my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mandal. Very good presentation and extremely good kind of video we have seen. We'll be definitely discussing on that. Before I go over to the next kind of presentation, may I ask Mahmuda ji that whether can we extend it? Is the 7 o'clock Bangladesh time is the fixed time, because we have started about 15-20 minutes late. So I will plan accordingly. Mahmuda, what is the schedule?
I'm not sure. I think maybe Bhai is the right person to answer. Maybe Bhai?
Anyone who can guide me, because we started 20 minutes late. So according to that, I have to plan.
Yes, possible. Yeah.
Possible. Great. So I know that I have to release Angshuman because we have to start early, and also it makes sense because Mahan Mandal has talked about the agricultural part of it, and Angshuman works in Indian Sundarban on agriculture. So I'll be talking last. So let me request Angshuman Das to make a small presentation. If you can keep it within 10 minutes, then we'll go over to Mahmuda. Then I'll be finally talking about it. Angshuman, the floor is yours.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You can share your presentation?
Yes, I will share my presentation.
Please do. There's some echo from your end.
Is it okay now?
Better. No, still some echo.
Okay.
I think two windows is
Is this better?
I think yes. I agree with Mahmuda. There will be two windows open together. That's why the sound is coming. Is your mobile and desktop or laptop open together? Yes, the presentation can be seen.
Okay.
It's better. Go ahead.
Okay, fine.
I think Joyantada Mahmuda Appa already started her screen share. So I think you please allow her to give the presentation. I think she is a little bit busy for another session also. So can you allow her now?
I'm not getting you. Mohan, what are you saying?
Is this Angshuman Das screen?
Yes,
Angshuman screen.
Okay. That's great. Thank you, sir.
That's the Angshuman screen.
Fine.
You can't see the screen? Mahmuda, can you see the screen? I can.
Yeah, I can.
Can I start?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, great. So I will. So I'm juggling between two machines because suddenly my laptop speakers are not working. So let's see. Hope things will work. So this is Anshuman from this part of Sundarban, from Indian Sundarban, and I will share you stories of 3 farmers and try to link it with what can I do, what can be our recommendation for COP27 specifically. So so let me share from the story of Biplab Mondal. So who is in this part of Sundarban and who is having kind of 3 bigha of farmland for rice. And of course, you can well understand that this is heavily inundated during the cyclone, and it's heavily kind of salinated soil. And he also had 1 bigha of vegetable land. So 1 bigha is basically 1/3 acre. So in this part of Sundarban, 3 bigha is 1 acre. So what he did is, you can see the top picture, he has developed a model called region farm. So this is in his 1 bigha of land. So where you have ridge of little high ridge where he can grow vegetable, and also furrow where he can grow various kinds of fish. So you can see the picture of that particular land during rainy season, and he has got, so this particular land was giving him around 1,500 rupees from rice only. But now, you can well understand that through these, we call it macha in Bangla, this trellis, he can grow vegetable over the, furrow, and he can also grow vegetable on the ridge itself. And he used to grow only rice once a year. So now he can grow various kinds of vegetables throughout the year and fish. And he can also raise, ducks and all this. So you can well understand that he's, though he has to invest a bit in terms of shaping of his land, but he can also earn around 1 lakh rupees from this particular 1 bigha plant, which was earlier only 1,500. So that was one kind of thing. Another kind of model was from Sonnasi Sardar from Korakati village. So this is also, he was having 1 bigha of land, which is 1/3 acre. And there he developed a pond in 0.7 acre of land. And on the pond, he is growing various fish, and he also grown trellis over the pond, and you can see from the picture. And that's how he could actually, earn quite some amount, not only from fish, but also from vegetables cultivated throughout the year, and also chicks and goat. He was growing, fodder crops. So many options have opened for him, actually. Bonamali Das is another interesting farmer. So he only had 1/3 acre of land. On the top photograph, you can see that he was growing generally rice and some vegetable. He also had a small pond. So later on, what he did, he kind of dug a channel around this plot, and he converted his, this is a diagram of the winter season. So he converted his rice land entirely into vegetable cultivation land, and he can also grow fish on the channel. So why channel? Because during the rainy season, when you have a good amount of rainfall in Sundarbans, so this entire place can become playfield for the rice. And in Kharif, you can actually grow rice and rice, fish, duck together. So that's how, this is the real picture from Kharif season, where you can see rice and also fish along the channel around the rice field. So from that, he could actually earn various kinds of profit, not only from rice, but from many other things. So, like, coming to, what I'm trying to propose is, see, in Sundarbans, the problem is the farmers have very little resource, and often the resources are destroyed by disaster, cyclone, and many other things. And there is also push towards monocropping. So many farmers are doing mostly rice and only rice. And there has also been a push from the government on, indiscriminate use of chemical fertilizer, growing hybrid rice varieties. So in a saline soil, if you give more fertilizer, so you can well understand what can happen. So you are actually adding salt to the saline soil. So when you are adding fertilizer, so you can always. But there are also scope, like resources are little, but diversified. So that is the key to the transformation. So you can actually, rather than increasing productivity of one particular crop, say rice, you can actually think in increasing the productivity of the whole farm, the entire farm, so that he can, earn from various things. And so I was trying to show you kind of cost benefit analysis, because which is very mainstream kind of thinking pattern. But only earning income is not always the only reason for a farmer who is doing farming. So when you diversify your production system, you can actually achieve better dietary diversity. And distribution of income is throughout the year. So now the farmer is getting maybe income once a year. And if you're dependent on only one thing, so your risk is also increased quite a bit. So if you diversify, if your income is diversified, your risk is also reduced. Your risk is also diversified. And when you are linking many things together, like output from one is used as input for other resource, other component. Like if you grow rice, fish, duck together, so duck droppings can be used to grow zooplankton for fish feed. So that's how your input can also be reduced. So by diversifying, you can actually, do many different things. And this is my major discussion, that how can you scale this up? These are not 3 stories only. So there are many farmers who are adopting this kind of land shaping structures because we could involve the government. So in India, there is something called Gram Panchayat Development Plan, GPDP. Gram Panchayat is kind of Union Parishad equivalent to Bangladesh. So Gram Panchayat Development Plan, which is generally done, somewhere sitting in the block office or a panchayat office, not considering the demand of the community often. So what we try to do is we try to develop a framework through which you can really do Gram Panchayat development planning by taking the demand and knowledge of the people. So this is a government process. We just tweaked a little bit on developing the framework, which is basically doing transect walk, doing social mapping, then resource mapping, and then develop a vision map. That how do I want to see my village in 3 years down the line? And from vision map, we develop the activities and the hardware support, the support of land shaping at the farm scale, and also like digging channel and all this at the landscape scale comes from the MGNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, where government is supporting for, doing all this, hardware kind of work, like plantation, doing land shaping and all this. And the software support is coming from NGOs and other organizations. So that's how we are planning to do it. You can see the framework here on the right. This is from the manual that we have developed along with the government. And this is unfortunately written in Bangla, but there are many Bengali speaking people who can read this well. So this is the process. So that's how we can actually scale up. And yeah, in the landscape scale, you can, this is a Google map where I tried to show that there's a canal through which there are various models which is developed, and the leaching of salinity is happening in this way, and which is reaching out ultimately to the sea. So that's how the entire landscape design is planned with the help of the government. So yeah, and this is being supported by West Bengal government, and there are many grassroots NGOs. But the major thing that I wanted to share as recommendation is, see, without taking in communities' knowledge, communities' demand, there is no legitimacy of having COP or other kinds of, high-level political discussion forum. And when I mean participation, so I'm not meaning participation as token only. So there are, we often we make participation as token, taking some community leaders and just showcasing them as, as on behalf of, having the community there. But community has to be involved really in the political discussions. Community has, because only a farmer from Sundarban, only a community member from Sundarban knows what is salinity, how a saltwater tastes. That can only really shared by a community people. So community knowledge, community's demand, community's understanding of his vision, that where he wants to see his village, where do you want to see his family or her family in future. So that has to be really taken care of well in all the political discussions that we do really at the high level. So I think I'll stop here.
Thank you. I think extremely good presentation. Thank you, Mr. Anshuman Das, for presenting this. And I think it supplements very well with Mr. Mandal has presented before, that the community-driven process. We often talk about this community-driven process, but it doesn't translate into actual action. And I think it's a very important point you have made. I think we'll be discussing at the end of it, that legitimized by community. So the discussion has to be legitimized by community, need to be ratified by community. Extremely important point. I think we have two very good presentations, actual field work from Bangladesh and Indian Sundarban, and we'll continue to talk about this migration. I will talk later. But let me now go over to Mahmouda Akhtar. Mahmouda will be talking about the transformation, co-production, and uncertainty in transboundary Sundarban. So I'm now from individual Bangladesh, India, now overall transboundary.
Transboundary one, yeah.
Thank you, Mahmouda. Oh, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it was like great flow. Like first the Sundarbans, like Bangladesh Sundarbans one, then Indian Sundarbans one, and I'm glad to get that opportunity to like share something on like overall transboundary one. So in this presentation, I am going to talk about the issue related to transformation, co-production, and uncertainty in transboundary Sundarban. Actually, from ECAD, we are conducting our research with some of our Indian colleagues called Tapestry Project. So through this project, we were like trying to understand all of these like transformation, co-production, and uncertainty in both Indian and Bangladesh Sundarban's part. Our today's talk will be focusing on that I like mentioned earlier, the Sundarbans, which is one of the largest forests in the world, lies in on the Bengal Delta. Here we are using the terms transboundary Sundarbans because around 60% of the forest lies in Bangladesh and the rest in India. And our interest on it due to having some similarities as unified Sundarbans, which includes enriched biodiversity, human nature conflicts, resilience, but vulnerable communities, transboundary mobile community, cultural practices like cult of Bonobibi and so on. However, due to climate change and uncertainty, the Sundarbans region is facing a lot of negative effects. It is now having at a high risk of post-flooding. So far, 9 out of 14 highest fatality cyclones have been recorded in Bay of Bengal, which has caused severe damage of human and livestock life and property in the region. However, the dual impact of COVID and cyclone further increased the vulnerability in both like Indian and Bangladesh Sundarbans part. In addition, in the last few years, sea level rise in this region has been increased about 0.9 meters, which is expected to be increased more over the years. As a result of these events, like around 162.879 square kilometers areas in Bangladesh, in Indian part, and 233 square kilometers area in Bangladesh part of Sundarban has already been eroded in last 30 years. Also, the agricultural activities are getting severely affected due to like climate change or sea level rise or other sorts of issues. So despite being so many similarities, the way Sundarbans is managed in these two countries is quite different. Like in Bangladesh, Sundarbans means the reserve forest, and in Indian, in India, it means the entire biosphere reserved, incorporating human settlement. Bangladesh Sundarban is an ecological critical area with 10-kilometer buffer zone. On the other hand, the Indian Sundarban doesn't have any such buffer zone. The Sundarbans of India is an inhabited of rural and urban population, but in Sundarbans of Bangladesh is an inhabitant of rural population only. Moreover, in Bangladesh Sundarbans, there is no locality inside the Sundarbans. All the settlements are in the vicinity of the Sundarbans. And in the Indian part, people are living inside the forest. So in the context of Sundarban, transformative means to address root cause of climate change, reconstructing indigenous knowledge, and redistributing local resources. also considering gender equality and sustainability in line with biodiversity. Moreover, accessible to the poorest of the poor by challenging existing power dynamics. And in terms of co-production, we can understand that like it is an alliance between the community and other stakeholders. It is a form of knowledge production based on other stakeholders, like based on other stakeholders' tradition and science. It's an initiative that blends technology with everyday experience. It helps. Oh. Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, now you are.
You are audible. You are audible.
Sorry, I don't know what happened actually.
But the
Can
full
you,
screen is not there. Only the parts. Yes, now it's okay.
Okay, great. I'm sorry for this like inconvenience. Okay, so I'm like how like I think I don't know how much you were able to listen to me. So let me continue. It's an initiative that blends technology with everyday like experience. It helps in formulating participatory policies. Like the co-production held a role in building transboundary alliances in the Sundarbans. So right now, what actually we are doing and what is our future plan, I'm going to talk about now. So we are working to create evidence of actors' experience of the effects of climate change and how they are coping with the like impacts through face-to-face and remote research. We are also generating evidence on how transformation can be imagined in the context of pandemic and recent cyclones like Amphan and Yash, using visual methods including photo voice and digital diary. We organized some roundtable discussion to facilitate inter and intra-Sundarban dialogue in various national and international platforms. We are also taking experts' advice on ways to transform the Sundarbans into an like integrated region in the face of climate change. Now we are planning to organize a transboundary dialogue in upcoming months. For ensuring transboundary learning, like we will compare and contrast adaptation mechanism, policy making, and future plan. And at the end of the project, we are expected to provide recommendation on transboundary learning and challenges. The major initiatives that are participating in the locals in both the countries are like using saline resilience crops, doing brackish aquaculture, crab cultivation, commercial prawn culture, aqua geoponic, green college to develop skill, gardening. Some NGOs are providing trainings on alternative livelihood. Locals are also learning about new livelihood initiatives by utilizing smartphone technology through a project called Proti. In our research, we are trying to understand how these initiatives can be transformative. The transformative element can be based on traditional knowledge and practices that I already mentioned in my previous slide. If there has potential to create alternatives and potential resource to be distributed across the various sections of the communities, then it can be transformative. Also, gender issues should be considered in both the countries. And we need to ensure sustainability of all of these initiatives. However, we need to do further research on it, like actually in what sorts of initiative we can call as transformative initiative. There are some challenges to scale up strongly of potential transformational initiative. Another challenge is to like ensure equitable distribution of resources and to convert the initiative from community-based to community-led. because it's really hard to explain them what is community-based initiative and what is community-led initiative. From transboundary findings, we learned that we need to acknowledge Sundarbans as a unified ecosystem. We need to focus on political ecology dialogue between two countries on what works and what didn't, and also need to focus on transformative policies for an unified Sundarbans. In terms of sharing institutional arrangement, both ministry level and local level institutional arrangement should share to act on the MOU signed in 2011. The state government of West Bengal should initially be a part of the institutional arrangement as well. Besides, it is important to incorporate various embedded stakeholders, including community and civil society, in the transboundary dialogue for decentralization from conventional diplomacy. So I will say, from our this project, we are getting opportunity to learn from each our failures and each our successful stories. So this is all from my end. Over to John.
Thank you. I think it's a wonderful presentation, and in fact, I never knew that you would be going to talk about this transboundary thing. I think very important, because I have been working on transboundary Sundarban for over a decade now, and it would be wonderful to see from your end that the kind of the effort and initiative that you put up. So before I go over to the community voices and other experts who are from Bangladesh to join, let me very quickly go through my presentation. This presentation is about migration, and this is the climate-induced migration. Is it actually an adaptation option? So from Indian Sundarban, I'm trying to talk about that, what kind of option is there. Let me very quickly go through this. Well, migration, we know that migration is often being considered as a form of climate change adaptation, by which individuals, households, and communities seek to reduce the risk being associated with the climate change. Now, many researchers in Indian part of Sundarban feel that migration is a very important adaptation option. They think that the money that's being brought in by the people who have been migrating, working outside Sundarban, maybe in state of West Bengal in India, maybe other states of India, and even outside, they are bringing money to the Sundarban, not only to their families, also the local economy, and that is very important for the economy to sustain. So they feel it's a very important cog in the wheel. But is it actually a sustainable option? That's a big question. So the organization that I am part of, the non-profit Environment Governed Integrated Organization, which has been working with Indian Sundarban and also Bangladesh Sundarban for a decade now. Bangladesh Sundarban mainly in collaboration with our friends from Bangladesh to work on a collaborative Sundarban strategy. I'm talking about it briefly as because Mahmouda opened up this very important point. But particularly whether this adaptation mode is sustainable or not, that's a study we carried out some time back with various other organizations. So I'm kind of sharing part of the study. Now, our organization is Environment Governed Integrated Organization. It's a non-profit working with the government, with the state government, union government, multinationals, academia, and also other non-profits across India, and as I said, also in Bangladesh in case of Sundarban. Before I go over to this particular presentation, as because Mahmouda has opened up this point, I really would like to add on here that in 2010, in 2009, during the Copenhagen Climate Summit, I could convince, as a journalist, you know that I've been working as a media personality for more than almost 2 decades now. In 2009, I could convince Daden Bangladesh Environment Minister Hassan Mahmood Saab, who is presently our culture minister, and Indian Environment Minister Jairam Ramesh to come to Kolkata and talk about the transboundary Sundarban's climate change issues. Because I felt that unless Sundarban is talked about by both the countries together, it is not going to garner the importance that it deserves. Unfortunately, in India, Sundarban is a small part in the entire West Indian map. I know it's much more important in Bangladesh. So we always thought, myself and my colleagues who have been working on Sundarban, that it should be done. So to cut the long story short, we had that meeting in West Bengal, where Hassan Mahmud Shah was present, Indian minister was present. The ministers from West Bengal government were present. Mahmouda was just referring that West Bengal government should be part of it. They are part of it. And subsequently, there were, the political changes happened in West Bengal in 2011. Then in 2014, we had a collaborative team of Indian journalists and Bangladesh journalists, Indian experts and Bangladesh experts. In fact, a team being cleared by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina ji, a parliament team, 6-member parliament team led by your Daden deputy mayor, deputy speaker to India. And from India, West Bengal, our Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee sent a team led by our speaker. There are also members from Government of India. So we sat together. We talked about how it can be taken forward. In 2015, at the sideline of Paris Climate Conference, we could organize a meeting between Daden Environment Minister of India, Prakash Javadekar, and also the Bangladesh Minister to talk about this issue, to take it forward. Subsequent to that, a media strategy, a transboundary media strategy has been formed. More importantly, because World Bank was part of this project, BISRCI has been formed, Bangladesh-India Communication Forum. So that forum, there were a number of organizations from India and Bangladesh who were part of it. So we have reached a point. So really, I will be very, very eager and keen to see where Mahmouda was talking about, and let us also join hands subsequently to this collaborative effort, because we had garnered a lot of experiences and inputs to our work. Now, you have been also working on that, so it will be great, and I'll be really, really keen to take it further forward. So that's whatever being required from your kind of presentation on transboundary thing. Very quickly to my presentation, the area where we work is in entire Indian Sundarban. You know that Indian Sundarban is around 10,000 square kilometers overall, kind of 4,000 square kilometers of forest and 6,000 square kilometers of human habitat. Mahmouda very rightly pointed out, it's an area where human and tigers live in opposite to each other, almost literally. And we did this study across entire west to east Sundarban, from the Sagar, Ghoramara, Maushuni, Namkhana, Pathar Pratima in the western part of Sundarban, and also in Hingalganj. Hingalganj Mohan is just across your Shamnagar, just across the river. So also Hingalganj we studied in other parts of in Chota Mullakhali, Kubinmari, the Goshaba area. So it's a study being carried over all over Sundarban, and about 30 families being in detailed interviews, and others are being there. As now I'm showing you the map where we have worked, and I'm just going the very detailed interviews. And if you go to my kind of first slide, you can see that the interview being taken. I don't want to make it the term tiger widow. Rather, I would like to say that a person widowed by the tiger. She's being interviewed by me, and there are a lot of like this. So very quickly, the state of vulnerability. Sundarban is affected by both short and long-term climate vulnerability. Sundarban's long-term vulnerability, the sea level rise in Indian Sundarban at this point of time is about 8 millimeter per year, which is more than double of the global average and one of the highest in the world. I know for sure it's almost similar in Bangladesh. And as for the immediate kind of vulnerability, the number of cyclones, the number of high impacted cyclones in Indian Sundarban has increased about 26% over the last 100 years. And recently, Indian Meteorological Department, IMD, has come up with a report which shows that the frequency of cyclones in Indian Sundarban and the area around is highest in India. So Sundarban is highest for the sea level rise in India. In Sundarban is the most frequently affected by cyclones. So you can jolly well understand the vulnerability, and I really don't need to talk about all these cyclones being there. I think Mohan has talked about it, and all of you have talked about it. Now, I am putting it in international context. If you take India and Bangladesh Sundarban together, about 12.5 million people are affected directly or indirectly by the climate change impacts. And that is much, much bigger than Hungary, Portugal, and many, many European countries. So when we are talking about a country like Nepal, a country like Maldives, Grenada, or Antigua, Cook Island, yes, they are extremely vulnerable. But look at the scale of people. Look at the number of people being affected. Look at the scale of vulnerability. Look at the scale of their resilience. So Sundarban, in no doubt, is an extremely one of the most vulnerable part, both from the point of view of the physical danger and as well as the lack of resilience in terms of low socioeconomic activity. So this is a point should be taken to the global platform, because the people in Sundarban hardly use any energy. They are not responsible for what they are facing now. So I think collectively from this Gobeshona conference, we can take up, we'll be finally kind of concluding when we'll be doing that. We should take this forward, that the vulnerability of Sundarban should be taken to the global platform. What is our research finding? From Sundarban, there are various push factors and pull factors. Physical threat, uprooting. Then agriculture not giving return. Mohan was talking about in Bangladesh. Anshuman was talking about in Indian part. Fishery no more lucrative as it was. Why? Because of the salinity. Salinity is not only affecting agriculture, it is also affecting the fishery. Because you know the fishes are extremely impacted by the microenvironment. When the salinity is going up, the hillsides are no more coming into the Indian Sundarban. So all the kind of fishery are being affected. And if you look at it, the number of tiger deaths to the fishermen has increased like anything in Indian Sundarban. And one of the reasons is the fish catch has now dwindled, has gone down. So the number of hours a fisherman has to stay close to a forest for taking crab and fishes is much more than it was before. And when it was the low tide, they're the sitting ducks. So tigers are often being coming and attacking them and killing them. So number of tiger kill are being increased by leaps and bounds in Indian Sundarban, and climate change is definitely an important factor behind this trend. This has to be understood. Now, no alternative sustainable livelihood, ecotourism, great prospect, still not being there. Young generation not going to forest. As I said, the number of tiger hit deaths are so high. So the mothers not allowing the children, the young boys to go to the forest. So they are going away from Sundarban. That's triggering the migration. That's the push factor. Pull factor, better payment. They feel whatever they can get in Indian Sundarban, they can get more in Kerala, more in Tamil Nadu, more in Delhi, maybe in Kolkata as well. So that's it. They also feel the politics is too much politics in Sundarban, in Indian Sundarban. They feel there is so much politics. So they feel if they work outside, the politics is less. And obviously the consumerism sucks. The whole kind of dream that being given, fed by the televisions and all this, that kind of dream they have about the city like Kolkata, Delhi, and Mumbai is phenomenal. So the young often being attracted. Now, patterns of mobility, high volume of migrants. In Indian Sundarban, about 60 to 70 families at least having 1% migrating out. And in some families, in some families, entire family being migrating out. Most being Kolkata bound, but there are others. There are migration hotspots. There are areas like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and likewise in Maharashtra, people are going. And if you go to the patterns, females are migrating less and they are migrating closer. Whereas in female, we find in Western and Central Sundarban, they hardly migrate. They hardly migrate because, shift this line. They hardly migrate simply because they stay put. But if you go to the Hingalganj area, which is close to Bangladesh, then they migrate much more. They migrate much more. I'm just kind of fine. Now, if you go to the agents of migration, there are a lot of agents. Each and every island in Indian Sundarban, there are about 54 islands where people do stay, and there are about 48 islands which are wild islands. So there are 4 or 5 agents in each and area, and they take people. They work as middlemen, and often people move in a flock. And extreme weather events, be it Ayla, be it Amphan, be it Jayad, they push them out. State of migration, less educated migrate more, often with the family, middlemen operate, as I said. Labor contractors are each island. Poor accommodation despite commission. When they are going to the destination point, often they are being kept in a in a room, 40 or 50 people in a room. They even pay for it, but the quality of life is very, very poor. And now they are trying to fend up the middleman. They are kind of making the direct contacts with whoever requiring the labor. So that's being a new trend. Now, if we go to the migration positives, let us, before kind of understanding how migration helps in adaptation, migration helps, definitely. Money matters. Women opine that in general, migration contributes towards being well-being, adaptive capacities being improved, more income, more autonomy, household gender relations get more. Migration remittance, money comes, they are being used for the daily use, then about 700 to 800 rupees Indian currency being they get every day. So they can kind of have around 5,000 to 10,000 per month. They can kind of send back to their families, and they use it in the festival time. They use it for the agriculture and also the shock absorber. When the disaster happens, then money helps them. And often they are buy land. They buy land away from Sundarban because they know that Indian Sundarban is not a great place to stay for disaster. So often they try to get hold of some lands beyond Sundarban. Now the negatives. Now that's the important part. No social security in destination nodes. Even a state like Kerala, which is known for its kind of socialistic and other issues, there is some kind of a relevance of security, but generally there's no security, no social security net, no registration, nothing. Women are exploited like anything in the work front. I talked to few women who said they were forced to work 2 10 hours kind of shift in a day. They are giving just the 1 or 2 hours in between. They were told, if you don't work in 2, we will not give money for 1. So they are forced. A woman about 50 years old, along with two of her kind of daughters, they went outside West Bengal in the southern state and being forced to work. No toilets for women. Often there are the factories which are away from the urban areas. They are being forced to go to the open, to the forest areas or semi-forest areas to relieve. So that's the kind of situation. No medical assistance. If there is an accident, they're being sent back home. In COVID, even the threat of COVID, everybody was sent home. In whatever you can go, we don't know. That's happening. Then migrative negatives of the destination, high occupational hazard, extremely high occupational hazards, be it Andaman, be it Mumbai. As I said, people are getting affected. I refer a particular case study. It's in Minakha area in the North Chabbish Pargana, part of Sundarban. After Ayla, as because that's a fishery area and agriculture area, they didn't have much option at livelihood at that point of time. They went in a flock. About 200 people from Minakha went to the areas in the western part of kind of northwest part of West Bengal to work in area of Jharkhand, Jhargram, and Asansol and Bardhaman to work in the factories. And there, within 2 years, they started to die because of the silicosis. They were working in factories, they were not being protected. And from 2014 to 2022, I've been following this for the last 7-8 years. About 30 people have died out of those 200. The age group is 18 to 30. Many of them married, having very young sons and daughters. And around 50 are on the verge of death. So that's the kind of impact, the occupational hazard that this kind of migration entails to. And now the migration U-turn. When there's a disaster in Kerala, people are thrown back like a cork, like a badminton. They're being thrown back. When there's a COVID, people are asked to go back within a day. So clearly, migration is not the great option that we used to believe earlier. And the women part I already discussed. Now, also there is migration creating problem at source. There's social insecurity. When the adults are all going away from Sundarban, only the elderly and women and the children stay back. There's definitely social insecurity. Trafficking being picked up. Even after disaster, people living in a flat shelter being married off. The trafficking in the name of marrying off. I'm sure same thing happens in Bangladesh. So trafficking being picked up, and during this COVID, with schools being closed for 2 years, even the teachers couldn't keep an eye on the young boys and girls. The trafficking picked up. parents left, so also the development of the children were not being the way it's supposed to be. Suboptimal condition in destination, I spoke about it. I spoke about the lockdown imposed trouble. There are, as I said, in Kerala, there are huge amount of migration, U-turn of the migration. There are fishermen being struck in Tamil Nadu. So that's being also there. So also there's an issue of adjustment. Many of them could not speak in the language, the Hindi or English. They are not very educated people, so they know the local language. They couldn't adjust. So as because they couldn't adjust, they could not express their problem. They're also being exploited. So that's also being a problem out there. Now I'm coming to the end of it, almost my presentation. Now, what is happening? This temporary migration success. So you go for a year, earn quite a lot of money at this at the benchmark of Sundarban, and you feel that migration is a great option. Now you are sending your second son to migrate. So migration sucks into further migration. And as because you are migrating and you are generating money, you tend to kind of take loans. See, I have a one room house. I would like to make it 3 room. I would like to have 2 floors. I would like to make it concrete based. So they are taking loans with high interest, with the promise that okay, my son's working outside will bring money. But when there's a disaster hits and they're being forced back, there's no job outside, they are being sucked into more and more of the economical cycle. So the migration, the temporary migration actually sucks into further migration to the debt and the compromises. That's very important. And the remittance we talk about really doesn't count always. So moreover, migration success often proves temporary, but many, as I said, many families invest in land or building kind of lands and all that, making substantial and long-term investment, assuming that remittance will continue, but often they don't, with the climate change impacting the destination point, be it Kerala, be it Maharashtra, Mumbai, or somewhere else. And now, as you know, this Air 6 report, Mahmouda was talking about Air 5. Now the Air 6 report is out, and Air 6 report is saying that the cities are going to be the cornerstone of climatic impact in the future. So the people who are coming to the city will be even more vulnerable. So that's a double whammy. It's a more of a problem. And now that's my final slide. So often migration remittance acts as a trigger to more migration, as I said, temporary migration we talked about. And finally, migration as an adaptation is not really a great option as we used to feel. All these experiences and our studies show, the ENGIO studies over the last year or so shows that migration may be a temporary option, but it cannot be a sustainable adaptation. And also, it also creates a lot of social problems, both at the source end and the destination end. So we have to create opportunities. We cannot take this millions of people outside Sundarban to survive. We have to inculcate in situ adaptation processes in Sundarban itself, so that this huge number of people can stay back. I'm sure the similar models can be attempted in Bangladesh as well. So they can stay back and can work there, can get money. Ecotourism is a major option. There are other options as well. So that the way you should seek. Migration as an adaptation may not be a sustainable model, as the studies show. So that's all about. I'm showing you 3 pictures to end up with. The left one to my left, a lady in a white and red shari standing in front of a house. She has lost. She's from Sagar. She's from Sagar Island. She has lost her house 5 times in her lifetime. Now she is staying in a flood shelter. Twice before her marriage and thrice after her marriage. So that's the kind of, it's a regular experience. It's not something new. So people keep on fighting, they're losing land. So we need to build up in situ adaptation models. And the lady in center, she was affected by bulbul, and the background that you can see from her is the wall being completely eroded. When I went there, she almost dragged me to her house. I said, your house looks fine. Why you are dragging me? Sir, please come inside. So I could see the front is fine. The entire back has been blown away. So that's the kind of disaster and impact making. And the right side are the tribal women. You can see all the tribal women. Perhaps you know the tribal people actually have set up Sundarban. In Indian part of Sundarban, I'm not sure about the Bangladesh. I don't know details about it. But in Indian Sundarban, when the British were there, I'm sure the same thing happened out there as well. The British wanted the wood from Sundarban. So what they did, they gave the area free to the Jamindars. And the Jamindars, as there was a lot of tigers, they could bring only the people from the area where the tribals live, because tribals were known to fight the tigers and other wild animals. So tribals came, they settled down, they cleared up the Sundarban for others. And still in Indian Sundarban, about 2.5 lakh tribals live. And many of them they are completely forest dependent. And many of them have lost their husband. I say tigers kill the husband, society killing the wives. So that's the kind of situation. And all these ladies you can see, and you can see the range of age. There's a lady backward, she's 80, and there are ladies in 30. So it's going on for so many years. I think when we are talking about adaptation in Sundarban, we have to keep all this into consideration and go ahead. Thank you for your time. I hope I could make sense. So I hope it's okay, and then we'll take questions and everything. There are a lot of hands being raised, but I think 3 participants raised hands. I request somebody from ICAT to track who have been raising hands, so they can be kind of.
I think they will not be able to speak, so they need to share their question or thoughts in the
chat box.
Yeah.
Great. So I request. Yes. So I'm taking away my presentation. So I request all of you who are raising hands to kind of write your question to a chat box, and I think the organizers are looking into it, and we'll be definitely talking about it. Now, Mohan, I would like to go to the community voices. So you told me that there are people from community who would like to speak. So definitely they are the people. We are talking about them only. So let's go over to the community voices very quick.
Thank you, Dada. Still now we are watching that 2 raised hand in our screen. So Ranjan Raptan, আপনি কি আমাদের কথা শুনছেন? I'm sorry to say in Bangla, because they are from Shamnagar.
Oh, are they from local level? Like, you wanna make them panelists so that they can share their thoughts?
Yes, I think they need to.
Okay, great. Then Mehdi bhai, can you please make them as panelists?
You can say exactly who to make panelists so that the Mahmouda can.
Oh yeah, I can do that as well. So no worries, I'm doing.
কজন আছে? কজন? দুজন?
Just 2 person, yeah.
Okay, please go ahead.
নামগুলো কি এগুলো বললে আমরা করে দিতে পারি।
Salma Akhtar and Ranjan Raptan.
সালমা আক্তার অথবা রঞ্জন রপ্তান, আপনারা যদি আমাদের কথা শুনতে পান তাহলে আপনারা আপনাদের সেটটা আনমিউট করে আপনারা আপনাদের কথাগুলো বলতে পারেন।
জি মোহনদা, আমি করে দিয়েছি, ওনারা কথা বলতে পারবেন।
Okay, so first maybe we can invite Salma Appa to share her thoughts, and then the other one. Yeah, Salma Appa.
ওনাদেরকে সাহায্য করার জন্য কেউ আছেন তো, তাহলে ওদের সুবিধা হবে।
আমার মনে হয় যে তারা
দাদা, আমি ওনাদেরকে চেঞ্জ অপশন করে প্যানেলিস্ট করে দিয়েছি। এখন ওনাদের আনমিউট করে কথা বললেই হবে।
আচ্ছা, তো আপনারা কি কেউ কি এখানে আছেন? যদি আপনারা কথা বলতে চান তাহলে আপনারা কথা বলতে পারেন আনমিউট করে, অথবা আমরা আমাদের মিটিং প্যানেলিস্টে আর যারা আছেন আমাদের এখানে গভর্নমেন্টের পক্ষ থেকে, আমাদের বাংলাদেশ গভর্নমেন্টের পক্ষ থেকে মির্জা শওকত আলী স্যার আছেন, তার কাছ থেকে আমরা শুনবো। আপনারা যদি কথা বলতে চান তাহলে আপনারা দ্রুত আনমিউট করে কথা বলতে পারেন।
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, আমি তো শুনতে পাচ্ছি। সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা।
আপনার কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছি। চমৎকার চমৎকার, বলুন। আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি আপনার কথা, আপনার কথাই শুনতে চাইছি, বলুন।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, আমার নাম
আপনার পরিচয়টা দেবেন।
আমার নাম রঞ্জন কুমার রপ্তান। আমি বাংলাদেশের দক্ষিণ পশ্চিম উপকূলীয় অঞ্চলে সাতক্ষীরা জেলার শ্যামনগর থানায় জলবায়ু দুর্যোগ সহনশীল এলাকার মুন্সিগঞ্জে আমার বসবাস। আমাদের এখানে প্রতি বছর এই দুর্যোগে ব্যাপক ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হয়, যে ক্ষয়ক্ষতির কারণে আমরা সাধারণত আমাদের এখানে বিশেষ একটা প্রভাব পড়ছে কৃষি ক্ষেত্রে। আর যেমন দুর্যোগ, ঘূর্ণিঝড়, জলোচ্ছ্বাস, নদী ভাঙন, তারপরে অতিবৃষ্টি, অনাবৃষ্টি, জলোচ্ছ্বাসের কারণে আমাদের ব্যাপক ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হচ্ছে, যে ক্ষতিগুলো কাটিয়ে ওঠা আমাদের পক্ষে খুবই অসম্ভব হয়ে গেছে। যার কারণে আমাদের বিশেষ করে এই ধান চাষ ক্ষেত্রে, সবজির ক্ষেত্রে, তারপরে এই যে বিভিন্ন রকম গাছপালার উপরে আমাদের এবং কৃষি জমির উপরে ব্যাপকভাবে আমাদের প্রভাব পড়ছে। এই প্রভাবগুলো কাটিয়ে ওঠার জন্য আমরা সাধারণত কিছু অভিযোজন কৌশল অবলম্বন করেছি, যেটা আমাদের স্থানীয় যে একটা সংস্থা আছে, একটা লিডার্স, এবং তাদের সহযোগিতা নিয়ে আমরা জলবায়ু সহনশীল একটা দল গঠন করেছি। প্রত্যেকটা গ্রামে আমরা 35 থেকে 40 জন সদস্য নিয়ে আমরা এই জলবায়ু সহনশীল দলটা গঠন করেছি, এবং এদের বিশেষ করে আমরা লিডার্সের থেকে যে সমস্ত প্রশিক্ষণ নিচ্ছি, সেই প্রশিক্ষণ আমরা দলে তাদের সঙ্গে আলোচনা করি এবং তাদেরকে আমরা উৎসাহিত করি কিভাবে আমাদের এই সামনের দিনে আমাদের টিকে থাকতে পারবো। এবং এই যে আমাদের টিকে থাকার জন্য যে সমস্ত গুলো ক্ষতি হচ্ছে, এই যে ধান, মনে করেন যে লবণ সহনশীল জাতের ধান কিছু নির্বাচন করে সেই লবণ সহনশীল জাতের ধান চাষ আমরা করছি। সবজির ক্ষেত্রেও ঠিক তেমনি আমরা কিভাবে যে সবজিগুলো লাগানো যায় সেদিকে আমরা দৃষ্টিপাত করছি। আর বিভিন্ন ওই যুগ উপযোগী আমাদের যে দক্ষিণ অঞ্চলে উপকূলীয় এলাকার যে সমস্ত লবণ সহনশীল জাতের গাছ লাগে থাকে, সেই গাছগুলো আমরা লাগানোর জন্য চেষ্টাও করছি। আর মেন করে বিশেষ করে আমরা আমাদের যে সহনশীল, যে দুর্যোগ সহনশীল ঘর বাড়ি তৈরির জন্য আমরা যথাসাধ্য চেষ্টা চালিয়ে যাচ্ছি। কিন্তু আমাদের যে এমন ভাবে যে এই ক্ষতির মাত্রাটা বেড়ে যাচ্ছে এবং প্রতি বছর যে বিপর্যয়ের সম্মুখীন হচ্ছি, সেটা আমাদের কাটিয়ে ওঠা খুব একটা অসম্ভব হয়ে যাচ্ছে। কারণ এক বছর যদি হয় তাহলে আমরা সেগুলো কাটিয়ে উঠতে পারি, কিন্তু পর্যায়ক্রমে প্রতি বছর কিন্তু আমাদের এই দুর্যোগগুলো আমাদের খুব ক্ষতি করছে। যেমন আইলার পর আইলা, সিডার, তারপরে বিভিন্ন বুলবুল, আমফান, এই জাতীয় ঘূর্ণিঝড়গুলো, দুর্যোগগুলো আমাদের হচ্ছে, তাতে আমাদের বিশেষ করে গবাদি পশু, গাছপালা, ঘরবাড়ির উপরে বিশেষ এবং এছাড়া কৃষির উপরে খুবই প্রভাব পড়ছে। যার কারণে আমাদের টিকে থাকা খুবই একটা মুশকিল হয়ে যাচ্ছে। এর জন্য আমরা অনেক সময় দেখা যাচ্ছে যে তাদের সহযোগিতা নিয়ে আমরা গ্রামের সবাই একত্রিত হয়ে, এলাকায় সবাই একত্রিত হয়ে আমরা অনেক সভা, তারপরে মিটিং, তারপরে মনে করেন যে কিছু মানববন্ধন, তারপরে মানে সাংবাদিক সম্মেলন, এই জাতীয় এবং বিভিন্ন ঊর্ধ্বতন কর্মকর্তা এবং দপ্তরে আমরা চিঠি লিখেছি যে আমাদের এই প্রাণের দাবিগুলো তাদের জানানোর জন্য, যে আমাদের এই দক্ষিণ পশ্চিম এলাকা কিভাবে আমরা বসবাস করতে পারবো, কিভাবে টিকে থাকতে পারবো। এই জন্য তাদের তাদের মাধ্যমে আমরা অনেক এগুলো সব জানানোর চেষ্টা করেছি।
ঠিক 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 ঠিক। অনেক ধন্যবাদ, অনেক ধন্যবাদ। মোহন, আর কেউ আছেন? আর কেউ আমাদের ওই স্থানীয় অঞ্চল থেকে আর কেউ কথা বলতে চাইছেন? আরেকজন কেউ কারো থাকার কথা?
আর কি কেউ কথা বলতে চান? এখানে আরেকজন হ্যান্ড রেজ করেছিলেন, আমাদের সালমা আক্তার। কেউ, তিনি কি কথা বলতে চান?
হ্যাঁ, সালমা আক্তার, আপনি আছেন?
হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, আমি আছি। এখন আমাদের তো আমরা খুব একটা দুরবস্থার মধ্যে আমাদের দিন কাটাতে হয়, কারণ আমাদের এই দক্ষিণ অঞ্চল।
সালমা আক্তার কি আছেন?
রঞ্জন দা, আপনি
ওনাকে মিউট করে দিন।
আপনার কথা শোনা গেছে। আমরা এখন সালমা আক্তার, তার কথা যদি না শুনতে পারি তাহলে আমরা এখন শেষের দিকে যাইতে চাই। দাদা
ঠিক ঠিক, না সালমা আক্তার কি আছেন? না আমি পরের জায়গায় চলে যাব, সেই জানার চেষ্টা করছি। সালমা আক্তার আছেন কি?
সালমা আক্তার এখনো অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স লিস্টে, তাকে প্যানেলিস্ট করা হয়নি।
তাকে একটু প্যানেলিস্ট করে দেবেন কাইন্ডলি।
আমি কেন করতে পারছি না? সো
বোধহয় প্যানেলিস্টের একটা নির্দিষ্ট নাম্বার আছে, তো আমি এজন্য হচ্ছে রঞ্জনদা যখন কথা বলেছেন তখন উনি আবার প্যানেলিস্ট থেকে বাতিল হয়ে গেছেন, আমি আবার উনাকে আপডেট করে দিয়েছি।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে উনি কি কথা বলতে পারবেন তাহলে এখন?
হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু উনি করতে পারছেন না। রঞ্জন দাকে এখন প্যানেলিস্ট দেখাচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, ওনাকে আর প্যানেলিস্ট না রেখে উনি তো বলে দিয়েছেন।
এটা তো ওনারা করবেন, আমি এখান থেকে চেষ্টা করছি কিন্তু পাচ্ছি না।
আমরা তো একটা কাজ করি, আমরা একটু যতক্ষণ ওই ব্যাপারটা ওয়ার্কআউট হবে, আমরা একটু আমাদের সঙ্গে মিস্টার মির্জা শাওকত আলী আছেন, আমরা তার কথা শুনে নিই নাকি? সেটা বেটার হবে না? মাহমুদা, উই শুড, আই থিংক, So great. I think we'd be really keen to hear another community voice, and as the technicality is being worked out, let me request Mr. Mirza Shaukat Ali, Director, Climate Change and International Convention, Department of Bangladesh. Very important. So an official voice. Mirza Shaukat Ali Saab, the floor is yours for a short intervention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jayanto Boshu from Calcutta University. Keynote paper presenters, Mr. Mohan, Mahmood Akhtar, and other colleagues. So I am not an expert actually in Sundarban area. I work on climate change issues at the national level, and as a Deputy Project Director of National Adaptation Plan Formulation Project. And as we implement some of the projects in different areas of the country, I have some experience, but I'm not really expert on forest issues and especially Sundarban issues. However, I want to share a few points from my side. I really enjoyed the presentation of the 4 colleagues from Mr. Mohan, Mr. Mahmouda, and specifically I would say 2 colleagues from India, because those are not known to us that much. So I was really enlightened, and I found those presentations very informative. Having said that, I want to just share 2-3 points, not much. We have actually tried to listen. We have prepared the NAP, almost prepared the NAP. It's at the finalization stage. But as you mentioned, your Panchayat system, and the other colleague from India, he mentioned about the Panchayat system and the local level to planning process. That was very interesting. As a student, I studied on regional development planning. So I came to know from Philippines and other countries about the local level planning process. So having seen this from your presentation, specifically in India, I was really delighted that this could be an option for the country to adapt. We have also some sort of local level planning process, but still the way you have presented, that's very interesting. That's a learning for us. And I just wanted to tell that we have tried to listen to the local community when we are preparing the National Adaptation Plan, because we understand that National Adaptation Plan is really formulated for the local level people, local communities, vulnerable people. So we tried to listen to them as much as possible. There was a series of consultation. I think it was more than 50 consultations at the local level, and more than 20 at the national level. So I consider we tried to include local communities as much as possible. I also want to mention that we are in the formulation stage of a project, which actually we are focusing on Sundarban area under Global Center on Adaptation. We have a Global Center on Adaptation, which is a regional center of Global Commission on Adaptation. And from that center, we are trying to take up a project around the total cost of the budget will be around 15 million euro. And we are trying to focus this in Sundarban areas. Hopefully by 2022, the project will be completed, and then we shall go for implementation. And certainly it's a nature-based solution initiative taken by this Netherlands government and also British government. So hopefully we shall be able to go to the local people. You wanted to know about COP27 issues. Bangladesh, for the last 2-3 years, are working on, organizing different national level, different consultation. And this year at UK in Glasgow, we organized 17 side events. So if leaders and even other like India jointly want to organize a side event in our pavilion, you can send a request. We can consider that one. I also want to highlight one point. We have BIMSTEC, like between the regional countries. We have SARC, and we both the countries have some considerable amount of understanding or knowledge, local level knowledge, adaptation, best practices. So we under BIMSTEC or CERC, we can have collaborative arrangement and then take up joint projects to benefit the local communities of both the countries. Having said that, I would like to congratulate the organizer, specifically leaders and also colleagues from India for organizing this very informative event. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirza Shaukat Ali Saab. I think extremely important. You said on the outset that you don't know much about Sundarban, but you ended up being contributing immensely to the whole cause, I believe, and being raised very important points. I really hope that we'll be just concluding this session by another 5 minutes, but we'll keep on talking for the next 5 months about this whole agenda and can take forward. I was talking to Salimul Haq Saab a couple of days back, and he said that the idea of the whole exercise is to collaboration, networking, and taking it forward to interface with the COP27 of the global agenda. So I think that's extremely important, and you made extremely important point. Before I conclude with the main points that I could understand from the whole discussion, which can be taken forward and maybe kind of recommended from the session, as well as for the COP27, I would like to input to Mirza Shaukat Ali Saab that in India, there's a 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment, which gives immense power to panchayats. And this whole process actually started in West Bengal. West Bengal, the Panchayati Raj system actually started in West Bengal. And the 73rd and 74th amendment, now the Panchayat and the ULBs, urban local bodies, are the third tier government. So central government, state government, and the ULBs and Panchayats. So Panchayats are now extremely important. A lot of money flows through Panchayats. The Mahatma Gandhi, that Rojgar Yojana thing, that entire money, huge amount of money flows through Panchayat. So Panchayats are extremely important cog in the wheel, and they need to, but the capacity is very less. So we need to improve the capacity of the Panchayats so that they can plan properly. Only the kind of ornamental planning doesn't make sense. They have to implement the plan. So now that, in fact, within a week or so, I'm going to Indian Sundarban to work with the Panchayats and the local schools and the clubs to do capacity building on disaster management. So that sort of things we can take forward, we can discuss. We don't have much time, I think 4 or 5 minutes. I would like to mention 4 or 5 points very quickly, and I would like to give you all one-liner if you would like to add something on that. That's a democratic way of doing things. First is, very important, the transboundary Sundarban. I think there should be much more holistic dialogue, taking into consideration the old interfaces and dialogues being already happened on transboundary Sundarban, and we should kind of collectively take it further forward. That's, I think, one of the major recommendations, and that should go to, because Egypt is going to be the adaptation kind of COP. We are talking about it, so we should take it forward to the COP27 and see how it interfaces. Mirza Shaukat Ali Saab talked about a side event. That's definitely an important part, but we should also try to influence other civil societies, the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, to see how this international kind of conglomeration between India and Bangladesh can go forward. That's number one. Number two, I think what Angshuman talked about, the decentralized model, just not the monocropping. The disaster happens if you have one crop, it goes. So if you have multiple way of earning, then your own one crop may be affected, one kind of livelihood may be affected, but you can bank on the other. So that's an interesting model, and we can see that whether that can be applicable, may not be everywhere, but wherever it is possible, in Indian Sundarban, in Bangladesh Sundarban. That's number two. Number three, I think Mahan has mentioned about the integrated model. They are doing, leaders are doing on health, on agriculture, on water, on multiple issues, but in a small community. That's an interesting model. You are taking a small community and you are adding on various factors on climate change impacts. That's also an interesting model and can be propagated, can be promoted, can be taken forward wherever it is applicable. The fourth point, the kind of presentation I made about migration is, it's now clear with the disaster happening in the cities. We have to consider the ARC's report clearly mentioned that the cities are going to be the main bedstone of disaster in future days. The cities like Kolkata, like Dhaka, everywhere. So we have to, there's no point in bringing and encouraging people coming from all the rural areas to the cities like Kolkata and Dhaka. Rather, because they will be ending up just like urban refugees and adding pressure on the city itself. So we have to develop, we have to see that whatever is possible in their own end and the adaptation, in situ adaptation in these rural areas should be encouraged, and see what is possible in which part. I think these are the 4 or 5 points which I picked up, and now I request very quickly to all of you, there's 2 minutes in my hand. Mohan, maybe start with just anything more you would like to add, Mohan, what I said, just on that, if you'd like to add anything.
No, sir, we do not have no single time right now, because the ICAT people, they already remind us that we have.
I think if you don't need to add it, it's fine. That's fine. Mahmoud, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think like you already covered almost everything that we shared from our presentation, but I think like working together, like both like Indian and Bangladesh colleagues, we can come up with some good ideas, like our common policies for both Transboundary Sundarbans, and also we can learn good and like good practice from each other, and we can avoid the bad practices from like our failures. Yeah,
I think composite India Bangladesh Sundarban dialogue, maybe you can take up. Maybe you can put it in that way, a composite dialogue.
Very good idea.
Mirza Sawkatari Sahab, your role is very important. Anything you would like to add after hearing me?
No, thank you very much. Really, I'm enlightened with your presentation, specifically on migration. So I'm looking forward to collaborate with you in any forum, through the webinars or even through BeamStack or any other forum. We are open to it. So looking forward to work with you. Thank you very much.
We will do that under the leadership of Professor Samiul Haq. We'll definitely do that. Thank you, everybody. I think our time is up.
The last point. Let's plan for transboundary dialogues. We can organize something like that.
Yes, I think that's the takeaway. A composite dialogue on Sundarban, transboundary Sundarban. That I think the main takeaway from here, and other points as I mentioned. We will definitely. I think somebody must have noted the points I have mentioned. I think we can work on that later. With that, thank you. With permission of all of you, we conclude here. Thank you.